What's up everybody, and welcome to episode 14 of my poker vlog. So this was supposed to be part number 2 out of 2 of my Las Vegas trip. But unfortunately I wasn't really able to condense it down into 2 vlogs. So instead we're gonna have 3 vlogs. So this will be part 2 of 3. In part 1, we saw that we got off to a pretty rough start in Vegas. So let's see if we turned the trip around and made some profit, or if we walked home empty-handed. Alright, so we just wrapped up a 2-5 no limit session at Aria. It went pretty well. We cashed out up about $300, so we are slowly climbing our way back to being unstuck. Maybe later tonight we can get all the way unstuck. So my traveling companion, who's a poker player friend of mine, he's downstairs playing and he's probably gonna come up and take a nap. So I figured this would be a good opportunity for us to go on a date. Yeah, that's right, me and you, the vlog watcher. So I've never been to downtown Vegas, and I figured now would be a good time to go. There's a barbershop that I wanted to check out and maybe get this nonsense under control, because we might do a schmancy fancy dinner at some point on this trip and I can't be looking like a schlub. So let's grab an Uber and head downtown. Okay, I'm not exactly sure where we are. We're outside the Strip near Main Street. Looks like there's a lot of cool shops coming in over here. Seems like there's some breweries, clothing stores, place to eat. This place that we're going is a men's barber shop. Just been kind of walking around, taking it all in. There's some interesting stuff down here for sure. Seems like nobody can afford to be on the Strip unless they're, you know, some major company or something like that. There's a ton of cool street art out here. If you're into any kind of art, yeah, it's all over the place, like literally all over the place. Stuff I'm showing you right now is just right where I currently am, but walking up down the street is a ton. So we just finished getting our haircut at the Makeshift Union. Really cool place. They did a great job on my hair too, I feel like. What do you think? Enjoying it? I like it. The guy that cut my hair, his name's Lawrence, or Larry. Awesome dude. A lot of good conversation, fun guy to talk to, and got some pretty good hair. Also dropped in next door a restaurant called Esther's Kitchen, and just happened to be right there. Hadn't heard anything about it, and what a good decision that was. Really good. I went for the Caesar salad, which sounds kind of lame, right? But damn, that was the best Caesar salad I've ever had in my life. It had huge chunks of anchovies in it, which you might think that's disgusting, but you'd be wrong. Anyways, I highly recommend that too. If you get a haircut, you might want to drop in there and grab some food. It's definitely worth it. So we're gonna meet up with our buddy, the Golden Nugget, and we're gonna play a little Uncapped 1-2, and then probably check out Fremont Street tonight. So thanks for doing a little exploring with me. I'm gonna walk around a little bit and check out some more of the street art. So before I headed over to Fremont Street, I had to get a little bit of caffeine in me. I found this place as I was walking around. It's called Vesta Coffee Roasters. One of the coolest things about this place is that they roast their own beans on site. I thought that was pretty neat. I've never actually been to a coffee shop that does that. And I gotta say, they make a hell of an Americano. We ended up sitting in the 1-2 game at the Golden Nugget. It's an uncapped game. Apparently sometimes the games can get pretty deep and the action can be good, but on this particular night, unfortunately, it was a bunch of small stacks and we got out of there pretty fast. Definitely wanted to take a walk down Fremont, so we did that. It was kind of interesting. Not something that I would generally want to do when I'm in Vegas, but definitely something that I think you should experience at least once. Also pretty cool to see Binion's, where there's tons of poker history. Good morning. It is Sunday, so we are getting ready to go home. We wrapped up the weekend with a PLO session last night at the Aria, and it went pretty good. We cashed out for, I think, 2.2K. We were in for 500. So that was our second session of PLO at the Aria, and both of them were pretty good sessions. Right now we're hanging out at the food court, the Cosmopolitan. Food court seems like an understatement. This is actually a pretty cool place. Some really awesome places to eat. I've eaten here probably 2 or 3 times already since I've been here. Everything's been super good. A Korean pulled pork sandwich with kimchi. That was freaking awesome from Lardo. And there's, right over there is District Donuts, which we featured on the vlog last time we were in New Orleans. Same donuts, still delicious. Highly recommend. It's been a pretty swingy 4 days. Started out on a bad note. Got stuck 2K early at the Bellagio playing 2-5. And we've been stuck pretty much the whole trip. We almost got unstuck for a minute on day 2, but that didn't last very long. At our low point, we were stuck 5K. And now we're back to being stuck around 3K. So we've had some pretty bad luck in the 2-5 no limit games. Not once, but twice this weekend. We got all in pre-flop for around 200 big blinds with kings versus aces. In both situations, we 4-bet the kings and got jammed by the aces. Should we be folding to 5 bets with kings at 200 big blinds? I don't think so, but definitely having some second thoughts. Both times I was pretty sure they had aces, and both times I was right. But as we know, that doesn't really mean anything. If there's still a certain percentage of the time that they have a hand like ace-king or queens or even chopping with kings, I think the calls were necessary. I think if we were playing a little deeper, we could make arguments for folding, but I just don't think I'm the guy who's going to fold kings at 200 big blinds. That's just not who I am. Maybe I need to be that guy, but right now I'm not. Actually, last time we were in Vegas, the exact same thing happened at the Aria. So that's 3 times in a row that we've been stacked kings versus aces in Vegas. And I've never returned the favor to anyone, so hopefully we're due. Kind of interesting, but so far on this trip, I've had 2 people talk to me that watched the vlog. One guy I was sitting at the 2-5 hold'em table, and another guy I was playing PLO with last night. And man, that is just crazy. Like, when I started this channel, I never thought that I would, go to Vegas and people would talk to me about stuff. That's just blows my mind. I wasn't expecting that at all. I knew that it happens in Houston. Like when I go play in Houston games, I generally, maybe like 1 or 2 people will say something. But that's because I post a lot of videos from the local card room there, and I think people see it. But yeah, really cool to get to, talk with people who watch the vlog. Maybe tease some future stuff. One of the guys we met works at the Hoover Dam, and he said next time we're in Vegas, if I give him advance notice, I could do a tour. So that would be pretty cool. I've never been, and it'd be a nice little thing we could do for the vlog. I didn't catch the name of the guy who I met at the PLO game. He was kind of on the opposite end of the table, but seemed like a very nice guy. He had some nice things to say, and if you're watching,
What's up, man? Appreciate it. All right, so we can talk about this hand. This is a hand we played yesterday at the Aria in the 2-5 no limit hold'em. We are 1,000 effective, and we are under the gun with Queen 10 suited. We go ahead and make it 15, and we get 2 callers, one in middle position and one in the big blind. The flop is Ace Jack 6 with a diamond. So we flop a gut shot, and that's about it. We could probably c-bet this flop. I mean, we do have some equity, but I decide that I want to go ahead and check after the big blind checks, and the middle position checks as well. And the turn is gin. It's the King of Diamonds giving us the Broadway straight. There are 2 diamonds on the board now, so we probably want to do some betting on this street so that we don't let somebody catch us for free. The big blind leads out for 25. We have a couple options here. We can flat the bet, try to get the middle position player to come along, but we also probably want to get some value before another diamond hits, because even if they're not drawing to the diamond could definitely kill our action if somebody has a hand that they could pay us off with. Maybe 2 pair or just a top pair. I like to just call. I think I probably would prefer a raise in this scenario because of the stuff that I just mentioned. At the time I was more interested in getting the middle position player to come along, because the middle position player was one of the more fun recreational players at the table, and I felt that getting that person to stay in the hand would be worth the risk of losing some action to a diamond on a river. But unfortunately, the plan fails, middle position folds, and we're going to a river 2 ways. The thing that we didn't want to happen, well, it happens. 8 of diamonds. Still want to try to get some value here. I think that we can squeeze some value out of some of the hands in their range, so I go ahead and lead out for 50, and we get re-raised to 150. Not too much to think about here. There's definitely a good chance that we're beat, but folding for 100 more, we're getting some pretty decent odds to call, and if you watch this channel a lot, you know I don't like to fold if I don't have to. So we call it off, and we get shown 10-5 of diamonds. Not gonna win this one. So this next hand's also at the 2-5 game at Aria. We have pocket aces under the gun. We go ahead and lead out for 15, and we get 3 calls. Flop is Queen 5-5. I lead out for 30, and we get 1 call from the middle position player. Turn is an offsuit jack. I go ahead and lead out for 100, and again, middle position calls. The river is a 3 of diamonds. This card doesn't really change anything, and I think that we're okay to go for 3 streets of value here. If the board was a, let's say, a Queen-Queen-5 board instead of a 5-5 queen board, I might check and then call a bet. But in this spot, I definitely want to lead out. I think that there are a lot of hands here that they can call with. So I bet 125. And middle position raises, puts in a bet of 350. It's a pretty decent sized bet, a little less than 3x. I think sometimes if we call here, we're gonna get shown a 5, unfortunately. But the way this board ran out, I think that there's not too much to be worried about. We block ace-5, which would be quite a few combos that would have trips here. The only other ones would really be maybe 5-6. So not a lot of combos of trip 5s for our opponent. So pretty easy call, I think. So I go ahead and make it. I table my hand, and he says it's good, and we take it down. So the next hand, we're in the big blind. We look down at our hand, and guess what? Pocket aces again. That's right, 2 hands in a row, pocket aces. Sweet, no one's gonna put us on that, right? It folds all the way to small blind. Great, you know, and I generally chop, so I asked the guy, you know, do you chop? And he says no. Okay, let's do it. He puts in a bet of 30. So I take a minute, could just flat here, and then my hand would be seriously under-repped and a heads-up pot between the 2 blinds. That actually sounds pretty cool. But considering I asked the guy if he chopped, and he didn't even say no, he just bet, I thought maybe if I re-raised him, it might look like I was irritated or something that he raised my blind, you know, when I offered to chop. Because some people do get annoyed by that. I don't really mind, but so I go ahead and decide, you know what, let's get a little more money in this pot. I think he's gonna call a 3-bet based on what's happened so far. So I put in a smallish 3-bet. I make it 80. Really hoping to get a call here. Well, maybe Maybe that was a little too obvious. Maybe he was out of line with his raise because he folds. Bummer. So I've got quite a few of the larger hands of the session. There's a really big hand that we played on Thursday night that did not end well for us. We will go over that one later. Probably have a little more in-depth analysis. And also want to talk about my session at the Wynn. We sat down at the 2-5 at the Wynn, bought in for 1,000, and we played for a bit. Seat came open to our left, and this fella sat down next to me, and I don't know, he looked kind of familiar. Maybe you guys know who he is, but I was pretty sure that I'd seen him before. But anyways, we got into a couple hands, and we're going to talk about those. Unfortunately for us, he was on the favorable end of the hands that we played together. So this is probably a good time to talk about losing and how to handle losing. If you're going to be a poker player, you're going to have to learn how to lose. Sometimes you're going to lose. I wouldn't even call this a big downswing. In this trip, I'm stuck about 3K, which is really just 3 buy-ins. So that's going to happen. It's going to happen pretty frequently, even if you're a winning player. So just something that you got to deal with. It's a little disappointing for me because I generally play a little bit lower in Houston because that's all that's available. But the games in Houston are a lot better than the Vegas games. So get to go back home, back to the grind, and hopefully not take too long trying to make back what we lost in Vegas. Got a little comment on the games here. I was here last time, it was in June of the World Series, and the 2-5 games were pretty good. This time, not so much. 2-5 games were really tough. Lots of very, very reg and pro heavy tables. One table that I was at, we combined tables at about 3 or 4 in the morning, and I looked around the table and I realized I might have been the only person at the table that was not a professional poker player. That's probably not our best spot. But considering I only get to play about once a week normally, and I'm here in Vegas for 4 days, I decided to stick it out. Ended up not being the greatest idea. I had a massive hand and came out on the bad end of that one. So that's going to wrap it up for part 2. Stay tuned for the final installment of our Las Vegas trip. In the next video, we'll talk about our hand with Andrew Neeme and a big hand we had at the Aria.